Hello, everyone. Wow, last time I say this. Hello, everyone. How you doing? We're back here today to talk a little bit about ECUM itself. Uh, as you may have guessed from the title of the video, ECUM is over, which was also what you would have guessed by the lack of uploads for a while. And yeah, it's because of you, Jab. Fuck you.
Yeah, I saw the 50 suggestions for Arrow, and I didn't want to endure all those seasons. That's
Yeah.
all on you guys.
So yeah, it is Jab's fault that E comes over. Not really. Well, it is really, but not really anyway. Jab thought that Ecom was, I guess, not a good fit for his life anymore. Uh, and you may have guessed that he also kind of left the internet because he made a tweet about it, talking about it. Jab is no longer on Twitter, no longer uh, we're no longer going to do Ecom, though he does have a podcast with me that you can check out in the description about football. But I doubt people in this channel are all that interested in football. But you can check it out. Jeb's still alive. Like if you want to make sure Jeb's still alive, just check in on that every couple months. And yeah, um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I should go into like what initiated the event, or like my reasoning from my perspective on why I think Ecub was no longer a fit. Um, just to give an overview. Um, I recently went into a new job, into cybersecurity. I won't go too much further than that, and that's what I've always wanted to do. And um, the nature of my job requires me to do a lot of things, a hell of a lot of things at a very high pressure circumstance. Basically, to put it lightly, if anything happens to us, the prime ministers of different countries are involved. That's the level we're talking. Um, so I really wanted to hone in and progress within that aspect of work, and that requires a lot of time, effort, energy, and it's been going well. I've taken on a lot more. I've got a secondary role as well. I'm now regarded as one of the seniors. I've only been there a short time. So that's one big reason. I wanted to focus on my professional career, and I don't think having a podcast, and also such a big digital footprint, um, was a good idea. It didn't gel too well, given the nature of the work I did. I felt that was a bit too much of a risk, and it was too much. I just couldn't afford the time. On top of already an ever-changing personal life with my health recently, I've been reducing a lot of stress, which is why I've got away from the internet in general. I I don't. I never enjoyed being on Twitter that much because it's Twitter. It's even worse now with Twitter. So I took a step back. And Discord, I just felt like a lot of things being done was very circular. It didn't feel like any progression, didn't feel like any changes, and it was just the same old tired out situations. And I was like, well, I'm just going to take myself out of it and just focus on myself and my personal life, because at the end of the day, I have no actual ties to the quote unquote Jeb persona. I have these people that are in the call with me and some other people, but I could just have a new account that's a bit more restricted. It's that simple, which is what I've done. Um, but the final reason, and this was kind of the biggest reason, I always said if I no longer had the passion for it, I would no longer continue. I was only ever in it for that reason. Didn't care about money, didn't care about growth. It was cool that we got some income at points, and we've seen continuous growth to the point where it's blown me away. I just was always in it because I enjoyed doing it, and over time, it became increasingly difficult to find that enjoyment, not because of these two, but because I became less interested in, I don't know, talking about Marvel or talking about some other coverage of Critical Drinker, for example. And it felt like hitting the same notes or going under the same mindset that wasn't really one that I enjoyed anymore. My entire perception on media, while some of it is still rooted in that old way, a lot of it has changed, and I think it's changed for all of us.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be your reasons as well. So it just didn't ignite the same way. We were very heavily inspired by EFAP. No, there's no hiding that, and we just fell out of that bubble, the way of doing that critical analysis. Uh, so it felt perfect timing where we were taking longer breaks just to stop. And in turn, as I say, I now focus on my personal life, doing a lot better. I'm a lot healthier, and so on. I now also do a podcast with Sky Football. I love talking about football. I've always done same exact stuff, and we just talk about whatever goes on. And that's that's basically a few of my reasonings. I want to be very clear. My reasonings are nothing to do with any um
Drama.
drama, like with anyone, because there has been a few, some high profile, some low profile. Nothing to do with them. They're not to blame whatsoever. In case anyone wants to find someone to blame, they have no involvement. This is purely me. Um, I had I had the writing on the wall in January, which is before a lot of dramas and whatever. I had the writing on the wall then, when I had my first health scare, and I wanted to try and continue to see could I salvage it, but I couldn't, and I chose to leave when I did. So it is purely my decision based on my mental health and my professional life as well. It has quite literally got nothing to do with anyone else. Enough to do with these two. They're still my closest friends, easily. Enough to do with anyone outside of it. It was never their decision. I never let that influence because that's not fair on these two or anyone else. But that's basically my decisions in a long fucking ramble
Mhm.
on it all.
Yeah, and of course, there was always a possibility that Tin and I would continue without Jab, but we
But
decided
but
against
uh,
it. We just
but
decided it was best not to. Because if, for one, for me at least, it felt like Ecom without Jab would kind of lose a lot of what it was about. I think the dynamic between the three of us was always like it kind of required all three of us to work properly. But at the same time, of course, it could have just continued with me and Tin. But it also, I feel like as people we just outgrown, like Jeb said, the concept of ecom and the critical way that we analyze stuff by that point of view, and that's not how we want to do stuff anymore. And it's not like just covering videos and just talking about Marvel. Like none of that actually appealed to us anymore. So yeah, that for me at least, that was part of the reason why I decided like it's probably best if it ends if Jeb leaves and it's Tin and I don't continue with it.
I sort of like knew Ecom was going to end eventually, like because I'm one of them people that always thinks about the end game of things. Like I'm the sort of people that I'm constantly thinking, oh, how long can this last for? Realistically, how long can it last for? So I was thinking it's not going to last forever because eventually life is going to kick in for all of us. Like me and Sky started this when we were 17, and now we're 21. So of course things are gonna something gonna be. I'm currently looking for a job right now and failing 9 months into said job hunt. But a podcast like Ecom kind of can't really work with that. I need to be a bit more flexible on that. And this isn't to say that, and of course I'm incredibly like sad like if it's had to end because well the day that like when Jeb announced it in the group chat, it was a bit like a gut punch, like a reasonable, justifiable gut punch, but still a gut punch. But because now what? Now what do I do? Because it's been part of my cycle. Because we're all autistic, so we need. It got so enveloped into us that even my family is like, "Oh, you're recording tonight," and I just go, "Yeah, I'm doing that," and so it's why to I guess fill that void, I started up a podcast with Introverted Robot, who uh, was actually a fan of us. He started out as someone who admittedly was in our chat, would regularly look forward to us and play us in the background, and now he's hosting a podcast with me called Evie and the Robot, where we, like Sky has pointed out, like ECUM started off as a very EFAP inspired podcast, hence the name. And well, funnily enough, I never liked EFAP. I only went along with it because they did. And eventually, when we started to grow out of that very critical mindset, that was when we felt more like ourselves. And that was sort of much more later into the stage of ECOM. And something good about like starting this new podcast is that it's a fresh break, it's a fresh start, and we can just apply the sensibilities that we had later in ECOM to a fresh new podcast where we're not talking about how Marvel Slop Thing 5000 is bad. Like our first episode was about Doom, and our next one was about Doctor Who, and we have several other ones planned which aren't just covering a video. Like we are not doing that format. Like that was something I've tried to make very clear on that podcast. Is it's not trying to replace Ecom because nothing. But frankly, like it was a flawed experience. We had a few too many problematic people on, but I wouldn't replace it for the world. And the fact that it's ending feels right. And I met my best friends on here and lost a few friends, but for instance, Sky and Jed, they're friends that I'm never gonna lose, frankly. And as someone who never had friends growing up, that means an awful lot to me. And to have that, even though Ecom is ending, is very special to me. And I guess to sum up my point is that to throw in a Doctor Who quote, because of course I am, uh, everything ends, and it's always sad, but everything begins again, and that's always happy. Be happy.
Uh, yeah. So the last thing I want to say before we finish this off for good, is that the podcast ending as has been made clear, but I want to make this perfectly clear. It does not mean we're not friends anymore. We're most definitely friends. We talk every day. So if you guys were wondering about that, no, we're still good. And it does not mean that there is not going to be any content from us anymore. As Jeb said, there's the podcast I do with him about football. Tin mentioned her own podcast with Introverted Robot. And I started my own new podcast with Evan Monroe, who has also been a guest on Ecom and obviously on EFAP before that. So if you guys are interested in that, the link is also in the description for all three podcasts. So if you want to check those out, and I'm gonna still keep making videos because I enjoy doing that. Kind of want to turn that into a proper job, but we'll see if I can do that. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to say I do really appreciate all the support we've gotten over the years, especially on the Flash series. The way that series got so many views was actually insane, and I'm quite proud of what we did with that, and just a lot of the content that we made. I was especially happy with how the content was going before we decided to end it, because I felt like it was more of my style of stuff I like to talk about, which is kind of what my own podcast with Evan becomes, just like talking about stuff we're interested in, properly interested in, instead of just doing like covering new Marvel thing. So yeah, uh, thank you folks for watching. That's what I leave you with. Thank you. Thank you, folks, for all the support over these 4 years. And yes, we're uploading this. I don't know exactly if it's going to be on the day of the anniversary, but close to the anniversary of ECUM. So, yeah, 4 years of ECUM. Been fun, but we'll catch you on our own little side adventures now with Evie and the Robot, with Off the Pitch, and with Sky and Evan in the Morning, our new podcasts. So, yeah, we'll catch you all on the other channels, but not here anymore. Thank you and goodbye.
Goldface. Goldface.
Goldface.
Goldface. Goldface. Okay. Now we can end it.